Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I know it has been a really long time, but I've been super busy and reading a lot, and I've kind of just been flaky and not recording what I've been reading. So over the next little while, I'll probably be posting more videos than I have ever before because, like I said, I've been reading a lot and I've been reading really quality things, but also binge purchasing a lot of books. So I'm really excited for that. Today I am going to be doing a book haul just of a few of the books I've purchased recently. I have a ton, so there'll probably be a part 2 somewhere in the near future, but they're kind of scattered around and I just grabbed the first ones I laid my eyes on. The first books I'm going to haul are the Infernal Device series by Cassandra Clare, which are Clockwork Princess. I'm going reverse order, I don't know why, because that's the last book. Also Clockwork Angel and Clockwork Prince. Yes, you probably already noticed that I have mismatched covers, but I got the first one a long time ago when it first came out and kind of postponed reading them and then realized that I didn't have the other one, so I went and picked up the other two. And to be honest, I prefer the new covers of the series. I know they did it for the Mortal Instruments as well as these ones, but I just think they're aesthetically more pleasing. They're really beautiful covers. I like how the spines are also in black and white. For anyone who lives under a rock, this series is kind of like a prequel to the Mortal Instruments series, which Cassandra Clare had already released. And I know some of these characters tie in to the Mortal Instruments or are descendants or relatives of the characters in the Mortal Instruments. Now, I postponed reading these ones for a really long time just because I really loved the Mortal Instruments when they first came out, and I still do. They're good books. But I didn't want to force myself to read these because I was just so freshly off reading the Mortal Instruments and finishing them, so I wanted to wait a bit of time before I could kind of allow myself to re-immerse into this universe that she created. Now, I've actually already read these books, and I will probably do a review for just the trilogy in general because I think I loved these three more than I loved the original Mortal Instruments, which usually doesn't happen for me. I almost always like the originals better than the spin-offs, but the quality of the characters and the world building in this I felt was much more rich for me personally than the original Mortal Instruments. The next book that I am going to haul is Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. I know that the movie's coming out very soon for this. I think like within the next couple of days actually. I had seen the trailer and heard about the casting for this book before I had actually heard of the book, and I love Emilia Clarke and Sam Claflin, so I decided to kind of look into what it was about and I got really excited. This is another one that I've read. I'm really bad for kind of having a stockpile of books I need to read, but then buying new books and reading the new books first, and I just wanted to read this before the actual movie came out so I could see the movie after I'd read the book. But this is also a really excellent book, and I would suggest reading this to anyone who hasn't yet. And the cover is just really beautiful. Just the red, the contrast of the red, the black and the white. It's very simple, but it's just still very aesthetically pleasing. The next book is The Crown by Kira Cass. This is another one of those series where it's a spin-off of the original, the Selection series, which I'm sure most of you have heard about. When I originally read the Selection series, I have mixed feelings about that. That's another series I feel like I could go on a little rant about because the protagonist of the series, America, I wasn't a big fan of, but I still felt an obligation to finish the books. But when these books came out, I hadn't read The Heir until this book came out because I was like, I'm just gonna push it off and wait until I can kind of just not be left on a cliffhanger and just finish it in its entirety. For those of you who don't know, The Crown is just from the perspective of the daughter of two of the main characters in the original series. I'm not going to say which characters, although it's probably widely known, just in case you haven't read it. I don't want to spoil anything. This is another one of those books where it's really pretty to look at. I don't like generic looking girls on the cover of like young adult books or any books for that matter, but the dresses are so beautiful and just like the reflection in the background. I've always been a fan of the cover of these books. If we could just kind of put a little finger over the face so we don't have to see that, because I don't like them telling me what I think the character should look like. I know we get a description, but it doesn't need to be this specific, so that's my only problem with the cover of this book. I also have The Young Elites and The Rose Society. I don't have the cover on this one because whenever I'm reading hardcovers, I take the cover off so I don't ruin them, by Marie Lu. Now, Marie Lu is more well known for her Legend series, which was phenomenal. That's another series, if you haven't read it, please go and read it. Just the writing style and the narrative of it was very original for me. It wasn't like stereotypical kind of dystopian. It had a very creative kind of idea for the characters and the plot line, and I really loved it, and it actually left me surprised, which isn't easy to do. I'm really good with predicting how narratives are going to go, especially young adult, just because they tend to follow trends more than other series, I find. Now, just a kind of really brief summary, this book series is about a group of young adults who are kind of gifted after there's like a plague that makes people ill, and people who survive the plague are gifted with special abilities, which sounds very generic, but once again, I found it was very interesting. There are a couple issues I have with this book. I've also read this one right away, so I read it very recently, but it's still really good quality, and I'm not going to spoil anything, and I'm not going to rant about what my issues are with this book. I still, so far, it's not finished, I still prefer the Legend series so far. We'll see how this concludes. There's still room for improvement, but still a really awesome book so far. My next book is Leviathan Wakes by James A. Corey. This was recommended to me by a friend. I'm really into kind of spacey things more recently, always, but more recently with a new release. Like, I've always loved like Star Wars, Star Trek, the Mass Effect game series are phenomenal, and this kind of and I was told that this is kind of along those lines. Now, I know this book series hasn't been completely published in its entirety, so I haven't read this book yet because there's so many still I think there's a few more to be released in it still, so I don't want to get knee deep in another book series where they're not all published. But I also really like the cover of this book, just because it's not the type of book cover you normally see. The font, the contrast of the background there with like a spaceship and then the big bold font reminds me of Star Wars and Mass Effect, which I really like. The next books I have are A Court of Thorn and Roses and also A Court of Mist and Fury. I also very recently read this book like a few days ago, so that's why I don't have the cover on this one again, but both by Sarah J. Maas. I don't know if I've mentioned in my other videos, but I'm a huge fan of Sarah J. Maas. Her Throne of Glass series is one of my favorite series ever. I loved it even more than I thought I would. So when I picked up this book, I was kind of reluctant because I had such high expectations based on my love of her other books. The other series isn't finished, and I'm like, am I really gonna start another Sarah J. Maas series that isn't completely published yet? And obviously I couldn't restrain myself. I'd heard too much about this. I just felt the need to read it and pick it up. And once again, I always like her covers. I don't know what about it, but there's enough, like, you get a figure on the front, but it's ambiguous enough where you don't get like the very stereotypical kind of young adult female character on the front. You just get pieces, and just based on the cover of this, like the aesthetic of the book fits so perfectly into the universe that Maas creates, but it's also subtle enough that it's not just like the entire narrative laid out on the cover of the book. So I really love the cover of this book. But for those of you who don't know what this book is about, it's about fairies, kind of. Like, it's about fairies, but it's more complicated than just saying it's about fairies. I don't want to get too into it without spoiling. We have another awesome, strong, young female protagonist in this book, and there's like some political intrigue, not necessarily political, but court intrigue, and there's some kick-ass fighting, which I really love about Sarah J. Maas's character. She always has female characters are strong and can fight for themselves, but are also intelligent enough to accept help when they need help. But yeah. But yes, please go pick this book up. I will say this book series is also a lot steamier than her other books. So if that's your type of show, then definitely pick this book up. The last books I have today are the Raven Boy series by Maggie Steffeter. I have, obviously, the Raven Boys, the Dream Thieves, Blue Lily, Lily Blue, and the Raven King. Don't mind the little stickers here. I picked these up from the bookstore yesterday, and at Kohl's and Chapters here, they always have like staff pick stickers, so I have that. Apparently Krista is a big fan of these books. This is one of those series where I've been super skeptical because I've heard so many positive things about it. Whenever I hear a lot of positive things about a book series, I kind of step away from it until it tones down because I don't want my own opinion of the book series to be clouded by the judgment of others, so I kind of just wait until maybe it's died down a little, which hasn't happened because the last book in the series just was released. But I decided it was time for me to pick it up. I'm gonna wait a little longer to read these still, but I decided it was about time I picked them up. Another reason I was kind of skeptical about this series is because I read Steffeder's other series, the Linger books, and I wasn't a fan of them. I had a lot of issues with the books, and I read those pretty recently, so that's why I feel like I need to distance myself from these a little longer and from her writing. I have heard these are significantly better than her other books, but I still just kind of am gonna hold off a little bit on them. To be honest, I'm not even 100% sure what these books are about. I read the synopsis for the first one a really long time ago and didn't touch it again, but the series kept popping up, so I'm not even 100% sure what these books are about. Something about ravens, maybe? But I'm going to give Steffeder another chance. I feel like every author usually has like a kind of really quality series or certain strengths in their writing, and maybe they just didn't come out in her other series, so I have high hopes for it. That is it for my book haul today, guys. Once again, I apologize for how long it has been since I posted a video, and I will be posting them again more frequently. I've just been super busy. Have you guys read any of the books that I hauled today? If so, what are your thoughts? If you have any other suggestions for what books I should read up next, I would really appreciate them, and leave them in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day, guys.